Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today we are doing more KSP, and we will be getting some people. Well, not people, some carbons up into our space station. The one thing I do need to think about and check is adding a food resource area. So, the one thing I want to do, even though this is going to be a crew compartment run mission, I do want to make sure that I have controls for it, because this is going to mostly be a ferry unit to bring people between the station and back to Kerbin in the event of an emergency. Eventually I will have a space plane that I will use for it, but for now I'm mostly going through stuff like this container. Check for if there is a container that is needed for well, huh. Basically, I'm looking to see orbital shipyard. That's cool. No idea what that is. Interesting. But yeah, it would mostly be stuff for life support, because we would prefer if our Kerbins did not die. Hmm. Okay, so this might have to go here. Go on this, just for the sake of the fact that I don't think, yeah, I don't think I have food up there. So, for now, we are not gonna set up a whole, you know, uh, like garden system, because that would be a little bit above the current planning stage of this mission. But what I will do is begin setting this up. Alt the jet pod. Because the jettison pod in the event of emergency. And then we need to come down to... It might be in payload, actually. Is it in payload? Or is it structural? I know... Well, that's neat, but that is also not what I'm looking for. I know it's here somewhere. Nope, no, it wasn't gonna be in there. Utility, that's the one. That gives mulch and supplies. These are all supplies. So where is our little habitation? There we go. Okay, so this has a crew capacity. There we go. That is the one I'm looking for. Crew cab. The reason for that is it has the ability to transport 2 passengers, and for now, that's all we need, because we need the 2 Kerbins who are going to be basically sitting up there. And I think... I think I might use 2 of these instead. Simply because of like what it is as a thing. It's interesting that the Z9 gas pack does not want to be added on the side in that method. Let me check. I can come to structural. And hypothetically, go here, come to our fuel, come there. Take our ion engines. Now, the best part is I can put that there. Come to our heat shield, because we do want to do an emergency style heat shield. No. Okay, that's irritating, but theoretically that would be the setup for that. Interesting. The other thing this is going to need as a personal pod some high density batteries. That's relatively easy to do. Link that parachute and these parachutes, which are quite extensive, but is also quite useful. Now, I have the ability think what we're gonna do. Main throttle locked to 0. We do not want that firing up. It could be an emergency thing, but it is not what we are actively searching for. I think that's what we want to do, because we are going to basically push our way out of orbit. That should be enough. Let's see. I don't really think there's gonna be a lot else. Obviously, we do want our connector. Where are the couplings? Also need to check out the grappling units. But before that, we don't want the junior, we want the senior. And then we also want to bring this up. Come here to fuel. And we want to grab a monopropellant. Sorry about that, everyone. I had a bit of a sneezing fit. Is that really the... Yeah. Again, another sneezing fit. Okay. Then we want our command and control, because we do need RCA in order for basically any of this stuff to work. And there we go. Now, I don't know if the ion engines are going to cause issues with the RCA. That's why I'm gonna kind of just move them so they look a little better. We're also gonna grab this and rotate the engines. That way, again, firm looks. The system will deplete in order to work on that. And a couple small solar cells, simply because we do not want it to passively just power down. I do think the ion engines will kill the power quite substantially, but should be fine. Now we're going to save this and we're going to leave because what we want is to recruit 2 scientists specifically for this mission. Now they may get switched out at a later point when I have higher tiered scientists. However, ooh, higher bulk. Give me 2. Oh, that's funny. We just put this 50-50. There we go. 50-50. It's gonna cost part of our budget. In theory, they should level up simply by being sent to the station. Now that I think about it, let me go to the administration center because right now we're gaining reputation. Hmm. Wish I had a better number for that, but it is what it is. Let's check the available missions, see if there's anything. That is a decent mission. I'm gonna grab it. Okay, so if I bring the scrap back too, I will get stuff for it. So unfortunately this does mean we have to delay our populating mission. We will save that, start a new one. Now we just need a singular command pod. Honestly, that's fine. Because what we want to do is come down here. Grab that. Do that. Come to our couplings. I have no idea what that's supposed to be, but I do like that I can grab stuff. So we are going to come here, grab excess amount of parachutes because this is going to be done in a very, very tight set. The other thing I want to do is tell can you not decouple? Um well, here grab one size up just so that we have the little extra overflow. Wait, there's a hatch? Oh, that's funny. And honestly, that should be it. This should be a non-manned mission. Retool it to that. Now, rest. Let's call it the grabber. I'm gonna call it rescue, but it really isn't rescue. It's I'm towing people out of space at this point. Grabber Mark 1. Maybe when I build a shuttle specifically designed to do this, I'll call it the rescue shuttle. But for now, this is all I'm doing. I then need to come here, subassembly, light lift. Do. Go there, select that. Now, we do want to go there and delete the fairing. And if I go there and name you light lift K1, are you gonna override? Yes. Okay. Just so that the fairing's not getting in the way. And there we go. I think my favorite part is it is relatively cheap. Now, so long as he's not in the most insane orbit possible, I should be able to set up a nice little capture to grab him. Okay, where is... Yes, I'm aware that there is no crew control. End of the point. Control. I have no idea if that's gonna let me do it because it's technically not the thing. Okay, so I'm as target. No, 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 no. Stop doing that. Abort. Hey, Maverick. Engage. Launch to rendezvous. Apparently the rocket is, way too ready for this mission. We are actually, planning on putting people, or Kerbins, in our, space station, but we needed funding to do it, so we're gonna go rescue someone to get paid for it. Because nothing says, hey, we're good people, like someone's survival depending on a paycheck. I also didn't bother putting radiation shielding because I don't intend to leave them up there that long. Also why we're using this very fast, very light rocket. Like, when you look at it compared to the flight recordings I normally do, it is hauling. Not to mention the amount of fuel I'm gonna have left over. Gonna be staggering because I'm quite literally just gonna do a full dump on re-entry. We want to come here. We want our rendezvous info, target orbit info. F circulation setup. In theory, because this is the person we're trying to catch, we're gonna come up right underneath them. Oh look, Jewel. Oh, there. There he goes. Oh. I have to revert it to the assembly because the whole thing is not friendly to the actual mission that I'm putting it on, because for some reason this thing, the whole point of the mission, does not count. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a probe core right at the top. I'll go for our standard gold. Since we do have a probe core, we do need batteries. 2 of those. Two of those. Save it. Prep for launch. I just realized it probably just put Jeb back into the freaking cockpit. Hey Jeb, buddy, pal. You might be jumping out. Oh, cool. Okay. No crew control. Yeah, that would be a problem. It technically is also a problem that I... Why are you not... Revert flight. Revert to assembly. This might crash the game, actually, because reverting to assembly twice in the past has been the game killer. I might have to, like, quote-unquote, start over. We will take this, put you over here, take a copy of that, retool that, take a copy of that, take all of you, do that. Now, come down here, probe core as the main body. Cool. Toss that. Do that. Come to our communications. Sure, buddy. We'll put you there. Put you there. Reconnect the entire rocket back together. Come to crew. Good. Save launch. And let's watch it yell at me that it's upset that there's no crew inside a unmanned capture vehicle. Because why not? I'm at the target. Is Periaps. Gonna be right there. Engage the autopilot, engage the rendezvous, and prepare for launch. And cool, full probe control. Good to know. It is a little upsetting that it wouldn't let me just switch to probe control from what I had, but hey, I don't set the guidelines. I also find it funny it let me get that far up into the atmosphere to do it. Oh. That's interesting. Okay, yeah, this rocket is too light because it is detonating initial stages, but whatever. Huh. Okay, so it's quite literally a single module. Do you know the name of it or no? And because I did see I have a ship yard component I can build to put on my space station. I just don't know if it's going to require me bringing resources up there. Don't get me wrong, as nice as it'd be to what's it called, to just build space station stuff in orbit. I would love if it was semi-realistic where I had to actually like gather the materials in order to do the construction up there. What? Come on, don't leave me in suspense. Oh, that sounds amazing. Because, don't get me wrong, like I said, as lovely as it would be if it was a free, quote unquote free, it is so much better if it's something you have to earn. Also, let's watch our person we're supposed to be helping just skim across the sky above us. There goes. I might have to do an early ditch on these pods. Or maybe not. Okay, they might be coming along for the ride. Although, that put me in such a bad orbit. Oof. Okay. Now we gotta look at this. Come here. Set as a target. Get a maneuver there. Go to maneuver controls. I do apologize. I'm a wee bit stuffy. Go. Okay, that's nice. Now we come here, and right now we're looking at a 66-kilometer separation. Seven, so the other direction. Oof, we might have to do it on the other side. Ah, 0.4. 0.8. 0.9, so we want to go 0.3. 0.2. This might be the... Yeah, I think that's going to be the closest. Execute next node. Oh, that's cool. I know since I've remembered that the subassembly is a thing, I have been using it quite a bit more. Oh, that's always worrisome when it doesn't deploy properly. So, is it like the subassembly, or is it more nuanced, gives you more fine control? Like, oh, this is how I design a battery bank compared, or a solar bank compared to X, Y, or Z. Um, Hello? Why are you saying you don't have control? You absolutely have control. Again, you have a probe core that is currently getting fed. Why are you having a hard time? Grabber setup. If I come over here and just change your master to the local heavy, are you just immediately gonna reconnect? Is that what it is? You're out of electrical charge? How? Oh, I think I've heard of that. Revert to launch. Yeah, that's a neat one. Oh, by the way, Maverick, have you gotten to see the addition I added to the KISS station? I need to stop saying KISS station because it is station is in the name. But did you see what I added to it? All right, I guess you'll find out during this one because it is a fairly interesting. We're gonna update that. We need to go to our antenna and set you to the public. As a target. 5 as that engage. This is gonna be fun. I have a bit of a surprise. It is a terrifying surprise, but it is a surprise. Like, I kid you not, I added a module that the thought of it being up there actually worries me. Like, I do not trust it in the least bit. I think I trust nitroglycerin in a gas tank more than I trust the module I added, because the amount of times it exploded just in the demo itself because I do have a backhaul whenever I'm testing a rocket that I don't trust, so I'm not doing like a million launches on stream. And yeah, it has exploded so many times. So, yeah, you just made the same mistake my wife did. What do you think the I in it stands for? If we were talking about Earth, you would absolutely be correct. However, we are talking about Kerbin, which is a unified planet in a not just one solar system, but multiple solar systems that we intend to colonize. So, it is the Kerbal Interplanetary Space Station, because it is a space station that theoretically will be moved between solar bodies as needed. Right? My wife both laughed and cried at me telling her that, because she's like, that is so complicated for anyone who has no idea what you're talking about. Granted, at that point, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, odds are you don't know enough about the actual ISS to know the difference, so... Okay. Boom. And it dawns on me, I don't know if I can get us in this section. But I can go here, tell you to switch to retrograde. And as soon as you reorient yourself, come on. Come on. I know you've got probe control. And you're capable of having probe control. If I go here to communication, it is going to be one of those things where I have to go here, come here, look for... I still have to grab that probe, figure out what it is, and get it back, but grab our probe, setup, master frequency, revert, public. Well, I can't believe I'm putting this much effort into getting one Kerbin out of orbit. Being the part I removed, I didn't realize what the part was this. Well, I did now realize it had the decoupler attached to it. So, boom, boom, haha. Just because I don't trust you not to keep breaking down, I'm gonna come here. Plus a pair of antennae on that. I'm also going to charge you with some solar panels. And a whole bunch of batteries. Also, which one to use are first? These guys. Okay, why are you exploding? Who knows? It's definitely something to do with the speed, and the only reason I know that is because I had a heavier payload on this exact same style, and it didn't detonate in a massive fireball. And guidance, I'm gonna put you back to 83. I'm also gonna reassign you to that pod. Engage for intercept. And I'm gonna back up because listening to this thing launch again just a wee bit upsetting. Hmm. Yep. Knew that was gonna happen. Okay, so you're slowly getting high resolution scans. Turn the resource overlay off. Oh, that's looking at the moon. If I were to go for carbonite, not a whole lot there. Okay. Our friendly neighborhood jewel that we apparently know the name of and where it is in the night sky we just apparently have no idea anything else about it or the fact that it exists. $2,200. Right? It's definitely not this big green thing we've named over in this direction. And the funny thing is, I wonder if it'll even let me do it. Like, if I go to this unknown object, it has like a fake mapping to it. And this is Duna. And Duna is something I quote-unquote know about. Deploy that so the shell just drops away. Where'd he go? Oh, so he's actually on a lower plane. Hey, buddy, where you at? I get the feeling that if Kerbal Space Program had how to build proper NASA-grade rockets, IRL, somebody might have an issue with that. That somebody being most governments. Where is it? Couple it. Oh, there's our buddy. Tell you to attempt to turn retrograde. Hopefully you actually get some control back. Because you are technically still connected. Still have power, so... Oh, there we go. See, while you are technically right, your biggest issue is not the KSP fanbase. That was bad, that was bad. Apparently the engine just didn't want to engage, and it skipped engine engagement and jumped straight to ejection. The hypothetically, if KSP showed how to build a working rocket, you run into a very major problem, which is, do you know what the original moon lander, like what type of rocket it used? or more specifically, we'll say the Apollo 3 rocket, was a refurbished intercontinental ballistic missile. Like I said, your issue wouldn't be with the KSP community. You'd be having an issue with, say, a particularly unfriendly nation going, oh, that's how you build an ICBM. Trust me, I would love if you could do it, but yep, geopolitics, and all it takes is one crazy person to go, well, I've got government paying, X government paying me, and I don't like this government. Let's see what we can throw at them. Because it doesn't matter if you hit, you just have to set off the alarm systems, and everything goes bye-bye. I forget what the numbers are, but I think it's like, I know it's in minutes. It's like 5, 8, 11 minutes. If a nuclear device, like an ICBM, is launched, in that time frame, we'll say 8 minutes. In that 8-minute window, the U.S. or most countries have a return fire window. If they determine that they're going to do a return fire, our missiles launch, and theoretically speaking, less than 30 minutes later, life on the planet ceases to exist. In most scenarios. Especially because if any rockets land in Russia and their dead hand system is actually still working and functional, even if you took, like, if you snapped your fingers and annihilated everyone in Russian command, the instant it's like a dead man switch, the instant it stops getting the command not to fire the missiles, it will fire the missiles at wherever they were last pointed, and they are Cold War era missiles. I would not be surprised if most of them are still pointed at us and Europe. So yeah, I forget what the exact number is, but a good rounding is 30 minutes. We are only ever 30 minutes away from total planetary annihilation, or total civilization annihilation. Because yay, we did that to ourselves. Here's a absolutely terrifying fun fact. During the Cold War, do you know what our nuclear missile, like our nuclear launch codes were? No, you don't, because I'm about to tell you. It was 00000000. If you walked into any nuclear silo and punched those 8 zeros in, you would have total command and control to launch the missiles. You would still need the 2 keys, but that would be the master override. Because during the Cold War, they didn't trust people to have enough time to descramble the launch code, so they just set every silo to 0. Yep. Like, that's not even a joke or hyperbole. That is literally what it was. Like, it was so simple that someone doing a routine test diagnostic could basically get into full launch command control unintentionally. Oh yeah, that's we're so close to extinction level events that I cannot even begin to describe the terrifying nature of everything. Like, and mind you, that's all the stuff that, like, we know about now. That is not the stuff that they decided this is too scary to tell the public. Like, think about that. The fact that at any moment someone could accidentally type in the launch codes was considered not scary enough to stay classified. In order to avoid the government censors, I'm not going to comment on that. Because I very much enjoy not being moved to a very small cell in a country that we are not supposed to be in. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, free speech is one of those things that could get you killed. If you're lucky. If you're not lucky, you will be spending a lot of time in a lot of very bad places. But it is what it is. Eventually, that will either no longer be the case, or we will go into an apocalypse, and either or it will stop being my problem. Not for a good reason, but it would technically stop being my problem. Excuse me, why did you just tell me there is no target? Thank you. Again, where are you? That. That as a target. Thank you. Oh, no, 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 no. Back, 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 back. New node here. So, I'm sure you know about how uh, the science labs work, right? Well, because you get that bonus to science when you're in orbit of the planet, it might be a space station that visits every orbital body in both. I'm not going to say both because I don't know how many solar systems I have, or yeah, how many solar systems I have involved in this. But theoretically, yes, I will be visiting basically everything with it at a one point or another. Slow burn. Oh, this is going to work. But we'll find out. I forgot to put RCS thrusters on it. That's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. Okay, so they are technically armed. Let's see if it's going to work. If not, I'll just have him jump out and leave the debris. Aha, it did work. Okay, so just for safety's sake, transfer there. Hi, you're a miner. Why someone left a child in orbit? I'll never know. Here. Early. Technically, that could be current footage based off of some of the stuff I've heard. So much Delta V. We want to do surface, surface. Kill our surface speed. Now part of the crew. I love how they intentionally add them to your crew before you get them back so that you have that, like, oh no, I can't accidentally let them go now that I've saved them. Yeah, I don't have that little voice in my head. Just like, he's in the box. As long as the box makes it down, everything else can burn. What, the guidance computer? Yes, yes, that is quite literally called the black box. It records everything. In fact, that would be where your flight recorder is. Technically, KSP has it. When we explode and it gives you that whole digital readout of what happened and when it happened, that would be black box data. Not realistic black box data, but that's basically how a black box would do it. It would have the audio recording from inside the cockpit, anything else it can save via that audio recording, you know, like if the captain says, oh no, this is a problem, we'll know what the instrument panels are reading, what the, like how the captain reacts to instrument panels. We would also have stuff like if it detects a fault, like if a warning light goes off, that would be listed in the black box. and it's relatively put in a reinforced area. It does not mean that it will survive anything, but it'll survive a lot. It's normally one of those, you know, if a plane crashes, we should know why kind of things. That's not to say that, you know, they don't take precautions to make sure that if a plane crashes, everybody survives. It's just one of those things of like, in the event, everything that can go wrong does go wrong. This shouldn't go wrong. Honestly, some of the scariest black box, not gonna say footage, but like informational segments that you can ever get is, you know, a plane crashes, they retrieve the black box, and the black box says, yeah, everything was fine. Because then that means there was some type of failure along the entire system that the pilot had no way of knowing. Because the black box, in theory, should maintain power, even if the aircraft doesn't. So if it says, oh yeah, they were flying at 10,000 feet, and then I recorded an impact, well, you have one of two things. Well, you have three things. One, your black box is broken. That's not good. Two, they somehow hit something at 10,000 feet hard enough to dislodge the black box and result in a data crash. Again, not good. Nothing should be that high up there except for another aircraft. And even then, you would then have two black boxes. Your other option would be they hit the ground, but the black box and the aircraft thought it was at 10,000 feet, and they were somehow not descending hard enough or visually enough for the pilot to be able to recognize it, which technically is possible. Highly unlikely. But yeah, if someone found a black box and it said that it crashed or that it registered a crash, but it did not register how it crashed, or like it did not register anything that should indicate a crash, then you've got a problem. Now, if you know you find a black box on the side of a mountain, yes, 10,000 feet may not be high enough. They may have just crashed into the side of a mountain. But yeah, a lot of fun little things there. Fun fact, a lot of modern fighter jets do not need pilots. Like, the pilot is very, very... technically, you never use that term, and you're gonna laugh when you know why, because it's the most boring reason you would never use the term supernatural. Can you guess why an aviation or like an investigator would never use the term supernatural, aside from the it's quote-unquote unprofessional? It's gonna be another one of those things of the, if you don't get it the instant I say it, you're gonna go, oh, absolutely, yeah. Actually, fun fact, that is not true, but we will circle back around to that one. The answer to the question is because the insurance company will eat you alive if you put the word supernatural anywhere on a report. And if you work for the airline, you're guaranteed to be out of a job because the insurance company will basically say, yeah, we ain't paying anything. And they might even say, we are not paying anything ever for again. So, yeah, you don't use the word supernatural ever. But on the it's impossible for something to be outside the laws of nature and physics, here is a fun thing with that. Do me a quick favor. Define the laws of nature and physics. So while that would be normally very true, you run into a very simple problem of we do not know all the laws of nature or physics. So, it's outside the laws of physics as we know it. And that means all it takes is a level of physics we don't understand, and it makes something perfectly possible. Don't get me wrong, I will openly say that is a cop-out, but it technically is true. Like, I think it wasn't even 6 months before the Wright brothers flew that a newspaper wrote an entire article on how mankind will never fly. That is not just impossible, it is beyond our comprehension. Exactly. Also, you run into a funny little fact. The instant you go to subatomic stuff is the instant you can like kiss everything you know about science and all that out the window. Because even people who study it, the first thing they tell you is this does not line up with macro science. Like, we know what it does, we know the rules, we do not know how you go from this science to that science because they don't work well together. Like, the instant you start getting to, like, subatomic levels, the standard rules of physics do not apply. It switches over to, I believe it is particle physics that takes over. But again, you're not using the standard rules of physics, so a lot of stuff just doesn't apply. I also forgot to put radiation shielding on this thing. So that could be a problem. Like, it's not going to be a problem, but it technically could be a problem if I overbooked it. I also forgot to put people on. Yep. Quantum physics, particle physics, and standard physics. As far as I'm aware, none of them like to work together. They make sense together, but like, to give you a very scary understanding, do you know what the North Pole of Earth is? It is. Do you know what the I think of the best way to say it without giving up the goose. Do you know what the actually here's an easy way for me to do it. If you get a compass out right now, take it out, find the needle that points north, and follow it. Where will you end up? So, did you know that the magnetic North Pole and the geographical North Pole are not the same places? So, I'm actually surprised you managed to catch on to that. So, the geographical North Pole and the magnetic North Pole don't line up because of what you said, and I'll swing back to that, but it actually is off by a certain number of degrees, even if you assume that the north half of the planet, the quote-unquote up part, is north, not what it is. It will still not take you to the geographical North Pole. because they're slightly further apart. You know, the geographical north of what area is technically not is rotating, not spinning, is not the same as where the magnetic pole is. But the basic understanding of a compass is either your compass is pointing north, so your compass is actually, the pointy bit is actually south, or the North Pole is actually the South Pole. And it's really weird and complicated because I would have to assume it's every compass on the planet is technically reversed from how we understand it. Like, for a standard living, most people would never notice, never care. But when you start doing orbital stuff and science that involves magnets, you start getting into weird things like that. Because opposites are what attract. So what's attracting you to the quote-unquote North Pole? Well, technically, either it is your magnet is facing south, or it's your south-facing magnet pointing towards the North Pole, or it is your north-facing magnet pointing to the South Pole. Your biggest problem is all of the science is done by human beings. And that is your big conundrum. Because you're absolutely right of what defines a north. That's why me even asking you a question was hard, because I could say it and verbally misrepresent it to you, and then you would be right even if you were wrong for the point I was trying to make. But you also have the issue of, how do you know that 1 kilogram is 1 kilogram? Omnipotence is not a fun thing. I like, we'll just say, based off the general understanding of omnipotence, it would be a very, very upsetting thing. It would be absolutely beautiful, but I do believe the amount of data to understand omnipotence, not to be omnipotent, but to understand omnipotence, would drive most living creatures insane and would exceed any computing power that you can generate. Because the problem is, your base level of computing power must compute every subatomic particle inside itself before it even begins reaching outside of itself. Well, here is the most shocking and upsetting part about that. Past, present, and future are all the same thing. Mm-hmm. In order to understand omnipotence, you have to be moving at or faster than the speed of light. At the speed of light, everything that's ever has happened, ever will happen, and is currently happening happens all at the same time. It's just a quirk of moving at the speed of light. So it takes, I think it's 8 minutes for light to get from the sun to the earth. So if you are a particle of light from the perspective of someone on earth, it would take 8 minutes for you to get from the sun to them. From your perspective, not only have you been created, traveled the entire distance, and crashed into the person's eye, you did all that instantaneously because you're moving at the speed of light. Yeah. Speed of light is it's a tricky one. Of course I had to do that. Why me on? Technically, infinite energy is infinite and not infinite. When you start working with infinity, you start ending up with some very painfully annoying math. Like, you end up with the kind of math that drives people insane, and not even like hyperbole, like actually, like historically people went insane trying to do certain math problems when you start playing with infinity and speeds of light. Oh, it gets exponentially more rabbit hole than that. Like, exponentially more rabbit hole than that. For all I know nothing. That is the basis of understanding for the human civilization. No matter what you want to think you know, you don't. Just plain out, you have an understanding, you have an idea. You do not know. Is just it is what it is. The amount of things you do not know could fit in a book that is infinite in size, infinite in scope, and infinite in dimension. It's one of the problems of the depth of infinity. Did you know that there are different levels of infinity? Right? So, in theory, you should know this from your calculus class, but there are different levels of infinity. Like, and not all infinities are equal. I think it's what the infinite hotel is one of the best ways to describe that there are different levels of infinity. You have a hotel that is infinite height, infinite width, infinite depth. Every hotel room is numbered, and we're gonna do it easy. We're not even gonna count in. We're not even gonna count in negative numbers. You have room 1 all the way up to room infinity, including room 0. Well, what happens when you have... So you would say that in one night, if you have maximum guests, you have an infinite number of guests. Now, if you have an infinite number of guests on any given night, how many guests do you have in total across an infinite number of days? And that's where the rabbit hole starts. I tell people, sometimes it is very, very easy to forget how small you are, but it's also very, 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 very easy to forget how important you are, because you may be small. That does not make you unimportant. Mm-hmm. Like, and the worst part is that's only using the math that we understand. That's not even taking into account, well, what if those infinite guests are being accounted for across an infinite number of days, in an infinite number of cities, in an infinite number of states, in an infinite number of countries, in an infinite number of continents, on an infinite number of planets, in an infinite number of multiverses, in an infinite number of megaverses. All of a sudden, you have like infinity to the power of 10, infinity to the power of infinity. What happens when you have a number, and like how many numbers are in between the number 1 and the number 2? There are an infinite number of numbers between 1 and 2, because you've got 1, you've got 1.1, 1.11, 1.1111, and so on and so forth. And that's before you even get to 1.2. Or technically, that's even before you get to 1.01. It is insane. It is beyond levels of incomprehensible. And it is perfectly fine. Because at the end of the day, it's, unless you're actively working with it, it's not something you need to worry about. Yes. Don't ask me how. I cannot even froggy an idea on it. It's so complicated. Here's a weird concept. I am absolutely butchering and misquoting this, but infinity times 0 should be 1. I forget the mathematics behind it, but like logically, infinity times 0 is 0 because 0. Technically, infinity, the very presence of infinity is infinite, which causes all kinds of nonsense. Because, like, technically 0 is not a number, because it does not fit within the prescribed definition of a number. Simply because you cannot divide by it, and if you cannot divide by it, it does not exist. Like, I believe the TV show Young Sheldon made a joke about it, of like, 0 doesn't exist, and like everybody in the math department starts throwing up when they actually see like the mathematical formula behind it, because it's disgusting. Like, doesn't exist. Alrighty, good night. I will see you tomorrow. I'm actually going to... Oh, before you go, we are going to switch over to the space station so I can show you the thing that I was supposed to show you, but I kept blowing up rockets before I could show you. It has solar panels now, and they're very angry. They also fold up and do all kinds of things. We want them to go in reverse and move back. Yeah, because they fold up into a tiny little packet that fits right in there. But as you can tell, merely having these solar panels on here is upsetting the physics. So this might be a module that I retire relatively quickly. Like, it's angry. And that's why the rocket that contained it kept exploding. Okay. Let's go here. Get you set for grade. You are now aimed away from the important stuff. Yes, yes, yes. I know you won't let me go until... that. Okay, target this, and a maneuver node. Five. Seven. 1, 2, 4. 4. Okay, good enough. Node. There we go. Down, bring us down, bring us down. Well, unfortunately, there goes my tugboat. Okay. Now, see, that has a rad shield of 2, whereas these have rad shields of 4. Any of the... we do need the orbital information. Not like right this second, but we do need it. Close the mech tab. Okay, why are you showing me that? Okay. You. Transfer crew. Transfer to there. To there. Odd that's not giving me the ability to do the science. Also, stop. Turn you off. You are the reason this is wobbling about. Crew report. Do I have to put them... Transfer there. Transfer there. Okay. So Hi, you're doing EVA. Bored. Hi, you're doing an EVA. And then you're getting back in. Stop research. Well, should be fine. Experiments. Start research. Okay. Well, I'll let them continue to work on that. For now, you guys are going to be on your own. We will come get you if needed, or we will drop you out again if needed. All right, everyone. It is well beyond our wrapping up point. Have a good night and take it easy.